Today I thought I'd do the Reading Habits book tag and the Readabits tag because they're kind of similar and they go together, and I didn't want to just do one or the other, so I figured I'd do both. I'll start with the Reading Habits tag. It was created by The Book Jazz, who has privated the original video, so I'm not gonna link to it because I can't, but that's the original creator at least, so you know that I'm crediting her. And the first question is, do you have a certain place at home for reading? And no, I mean, I don't have like a designated like reading nook, but I pretty much always read on the couch. That's just, you know, how it ends up. That's where I spend most of my time anyway. Like that's where I study, that's where I, you know, eat too. That's where I do most things. So I end up reading on the couch. I do sometimes read in bed. I don't read that much right before I go to sleep because I always fall asleep really fast. Sometimes I will read in bed as well, but generally I read on the couch. Bookmark or random piece of paper is question number 2. And both. I'm currently reading 2 books and I only own 1 bookmark. It looks like this. It's like a horse and it's like it moves kind of. You can't really see that, but I don't know. It's black, it's got a horse on it. That's the only bookmark I own. I want to get more bookmarks, but at this point that's the only one I have. So I just kind of have to make do. And so for the other book I'm reading, I just have this like folded up piece of notebook paper. So the answer is both, but I do want to actually get more bookmarks because I do think bookmarks are really pretty. Question 3 is, can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain amount of pages? I don't like stopping in the middle of chapters. I feel like it gets harder to get back into it when you stop in the middle of a chapter because you have to like remember exactly where you were. But with chapter breaks, you know, you're kind of supposed to stop there, so the book kind of helps you out in getting back into it. So I try to pretty much always stop at chapter breaks just for my own ease of reading. But I mean, if I have to, or like if I have to go or something, then I can absolutely stop at a different spot. But I do absolutely prefer stopping after a chapter. Question 4 is, do you eat or drink while reading? And sometimes I do. I don't tend to eat like full meals while reading because I think that just gets messy and complicated, especially if you're reading like such large books as I am. I remember when I was a kid, I used to always read and eat at the same time, but I could like squeeze my book in under like the edge of the plate, and so the plate would like keep the book in place. But I have to have been reading much shorter books than I am now because I could not do that with the books I'm reading now. So I don't tend to like eat full meals while I'm reading. Occasionally I might be, you know, snacking on something, or, you know, maybe having a sandwich, you know, a small sandwich, or, you know, drinking tea or something. But generally, no. Most of the time I'm not eating while I'm reading. So I'll have water next to me, but that's it pretty much. Question number 5 is multitasking, music or TV while reading. And no, generally not. We don't generally have music just playing in the house. So music, no. I don't like read with headphones on or anything. And TV, no. I'd get way too distracted. So that definitely wouldn't work for me. I'm generally just sitting there reading, you know, quiet. Question 6 is 1 book at a time or several at once. Well, I already showed you that I'm reading 2 different books right now, and that has been my standard for, you know, since the summer pretty much. It's been generally 2 books at a time. So one being a Wheel of Time book and the other one being, you know, something else. And that's worked really well for me. I do like the idea of reading just 1 book at a time and really focusing on 1 book. And I might go back to that after I finish the Wheel of Time series. But I feel like I get more pages read in a day if I have 2 different books. Because, you know, I can read some in 1 book and some in the other. Because like, if I sit down and like, okay, I'm gonna read 100 pages in this 1 book today, then that feels overwhelming. But if it's like, oh, well, I'll read 40 pages in this book and like 50 pages in the other, like that doesn't seem as hard. I don't know. I don't always read 100 pages a day, but I think you get what I'm saying. So I don't know, maybe I feel like if I went back down to just 1 book at a time, that I might read less in a day than I am with 2 books. And I don't want that, so I'm not sure. I still don't know how I'll do things after I finish Wheel of Time. But for right now, I'm really enjoying having 2 books at a time. Question 7 is reading at home or everywhere. Well, generally just at home. I mean, I'm not really going anywhere, as I think most of us are not. So, I mean, at this point, it's pretty much just at home. If I am going somewhere and I have like a longer bus trip or train trip, then absolutely I'll bring a book. But most of the time, if I'm taking the bus, it's only for like 10 minutes. And I don't really manage to settle down to read if I'm taking such a short trip, because as I said before, I don't like stopping in the middle of a chapter, and if I'm only on the bus for like 10 minutes, then I'm not gonna have time to finish a chapter if it is in a book with like super short chapters. So I don't tend to read that much when I'm out and about, but I often will bring a book with me. But the absolute majority of the reading that I do is at home. Question 8 is reading out loud or silently in your head. Well, most of the time I'm reading silently in my head. I think most people do. I don't think there are many people that read like whole books out loud to themselves. That seems difficult somehow. But I will occasionally read dialogue portions out loud, especially if I think it's really well phrased or something, and sometimes I just find myself doing it. I mean, not super out loud, mostly just kind of mumbling, but I will occasionally do that. Question 9 is, do you read ahead or even skip pages? I don't consciously read ahead, and I don't ever skip pages. Sometimes if it's like a dialogue and then there's like a break in the dialogue with like a bunch of narration or something, that I will occasionally like skip so just the next line. But that's accidental. I don't do that purposefully. I'm just like, my eyes just go to the next dialogue portion, like line. So that's not purposeful, but I will occasionally accidentally skip in that kind of situation. Question 10 is breaking the spine or keeping it like new. I don't ever purposefully break spines. I know some people, that's like the first thing they do when they start reading like a paperback. I don't ever do that. I had to Google like how to break the spine for this video just because I wanted to know. But it's not something I do on purpose. But I also don't really make an effort to not break the spine. So if the spine breaks, then it's broken. And I do like how, floppy a book gets when the spine is broken. I think that's really satisfying. But I don't purposefully break the spines. And the last question of the reading habits tag is, do you write in your books? And no. I know a lot of people like to annotate books, but honestly, I don't really see the point. For me personally, I don't really see the point. And it still feels wrong to write in a book. It's one of those things that you were like taught as a kid to not to do, and I'm still in that mindset, Sometimes I think it would be fun, but also I just want to keep reading. I don't want to pause and like write stuff. So no, I don't write in my books. Okay, now I want to go over and also do the Readabits tag, which I don't know who created this tag. I tried to Google, but I couldn't find anything about it. So whoever created it is credited psychologically, but I don't know who did it. So question 1 is, when do you find yourself reading? Morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you get the chance, or all the time? I mean, I do kind of read when I get the chance, so that kind of varies. Recently, I've been reading quite a lot in the mornings, like before I get started with my day, I like to read. I do also like to read like in the afternoon, like in between like finishing whatever I have to do for the day, like work or study or whatever, and like making dinner. And I don't tend to read much in like the evening, like after dinner. I especially don't tend to read much in bed, as I said before, because I get too sleepy. Sit down in bed and be like, okay, I'm gonna read 3 chapters before I go to sleep. And then I'll manage like 1, and then I'll be asleep with like the book in my hand. I don't know, I don't manage that very well. So it's often in the morning, like right after breakfast, or like before dinner. Sometimes during lunch, kind of varies. It really is like whenever I have the chance. So it depends on what I have going on that day. Question 2 is, what is your best setting to read in? This question is a little vague to me. I don't exactly know. I don't have like a concrete answer, but it's like any setting where I'm not being bothered, like there's not a bunch of stuff distracting me, because I'm not the kind of person who can like read while a bunch of other stuff is going on. I know some people can do that really well. I don't really manage. And of course I need, good back support, and I like to have like something to prop my book up on so that I don't have to, just hold it with my hands, especially if I'm reading a large book, which I often am. And I want the book to be in the right height and angle so that I'm not like straining my neck in some way. I just want it to be comfortable, and like a non-distracting situation, but I don't have like a very concrete answer for you. I don't tend to read that much outside, but that's just because it's hard to get that good positioning outside generally. If I had like a really good chair outside or something, I'd probably read more outside. Not now though, it's cold outside. Question 3 is, what do you do first, read or watch? Now, if it's a movie coming out that I'm like, oh, I know this is a book and I really want to read the book first, then I will tend to hold off on the movie, even if I really want to see the movie, because I want to read the book first. That's the case with the Emma movie that came out a couple years ago. I really want to read the book first. Same thing with the Little Women movie that came out fairly recently. I really want to see that one, but I absolutely want to read the book first. But I mean, there are definitely cases where I will watch the movie first, either because I don't know it's a book, then it doesn't really count, or because I just don't think I'm that interested in the book, or, you know. So it depends. Sometimes I will consciously watch the movie first, and that's rare, but I know I did that with Sense and Sensibility, because I started that book and I couldn't really get into it, and then I watched the movie. And I'm reading the book again now, and it has been easier to get into it because I saw the movie. I do kind of regret it because obviously I know how it's gonna end. I think sometimes with classics, if you kind of struggle to get into them a bit, I think watching the movie can help because you get like a sense of the characters and everything, and I feel like you get into it faster when you already kind of know what's happening. But generally I do like to, read first. Question 4 is, what form do you prefer, audiobook, ebook, or physical book? And I am 100% a physical book kind of person. I have not ever read an ebook. I mean, I've gotten some textbooks for university as ebooks because I didn't want to pay for them and I could find them for free as ebooks, but I've never read like them cover to cover. I've only just read sections. And audiobooks, I've tried to listen to audiobooks growing up and stuff. I know my father gave me this really nice like CD set of audiobooks for the Chronicles of Narnia, read by like these great British narrators. I don't know. And it was lovely, but I get stressed out by audiobooks because they're too slow. I know some people like speed them up. They set them to like 1.5 or 2, like double speed. But I hate how that sounds. I hate how it sounds when people are sped up. I know some people watch YouTube videos on higher speed as well, but I cannot do that. I find it really annoying. So I've never tried that with an audiobook, but I'm really skeptical that I would enjoy it. So I don't listen to audiobooks at all. Ebooks, I've always been really against it, just kind of as a principle, because I love physical books. But at this point, it's mostly just because like I don't really have a good way to read them. Because I don't want to sit and like read a full book on my computer or on my phone. I feel like that would strain my eyes a lot. And I don't have like a Kindle or anything. But maybe if I had like a Kindle, then I could get into ebooks. But at this point, I'm like, no. So I exclusively read physical books. Question 5 is, do you have a unique habit when you read? And no. I mean, as I said earlier, I fairly often read like dialogue portions out loud, which I don't know if that's super unique, but maybe it's a little unique. I don't know. I'll also always have to check like how many pages there are in a chapter before I start the chapter. But I don't think that's very unique. I think a lot of people do that. But I really like to know like how many pages I have before I start. But none of that's very super duper unique, I feel. So no, not really. And the very last question is, do book series have to match? And in principle, yes. If I'm buying a whole book series at the same time, then I'm absolutely gonna buy a matching set. Like I'm not crazy. And I do like having matching sets. I really like how it looks on the shelf, but I absolutely do own book series that don't match. Like book series that have been bought at different times, or maybe book series where I bought the first book and then somebody else gave me the second book as a gift and it doesn't match. There are situations here. I definitely also have series where like one is a hardback and one is a paperback or something, which it doesn't look as nice. I don't like it as much. And I always have like a favorite, like there was always one of them that I want them all to look a certain way because one of them is like better looking. I'm not like replacing books in series because they don't match. I'm not doing that. I don't have really the money or the resources to do that, and I don't really care enough to do that. But in principle, I want my book series to match. It gives me a lot more pleasure looking at them, but in practice, I don't make the effort to absolutely make sure that they match if they don't already. Yeah, so that was the last question of these 2 tags. I hope this was kind of fun. I didn't really know what to film today, so I went with this. I hope it's okay. I don't really know what my next video will be. I'm thinking I'm gonna do like my favorite series and my favorite standalones as 2 videos. I'm thinking that could be fun, but we'll see. I'm not completely wedded to the idea. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.